Hi. With this particular video, we'll be extending our discussion on testing. I just found out the issue right here. I was using a very, open pattern right here, which is all subfolders. Like that's kind of crazy, right? So just specify this to be test to start with, and then you can just type in here, star, or maybe we'll just, for as of now, I'll just make it appspec.js. So it just runs fast. Of course, you can specify a pattern as well. And I'll just kind of run the karma start command here. You'll notice it just happens a little too quickly, and it has executed, both our test cases. If in any case, of course, your method is not responding with the right values, maybe it's just kind of doing a plus, and then you notice what, so you'll get an error. You expected 11 and to be value 30, and maybe because this is wrong, the suit for 2 into 3, you know in fact this particular test case has failed right here. The other one is still passed, so it says one failed. If you just make it like a false here as well, and you'll see 2 of 2 failed now, so both text cases are failed. I'll just make it back here and correct my code, which is to multiply, not add, and then we have a test case running right here. Now on the similar lines, we'll have the Angular code running here as well. So I'm just going to go down to the a directory back. I'm going to create a directory here called my testing app. This is kind of a new app right here, or I can issue you the ng new my testing app command. This is going to create a new structure, and then we'll start our testing basis this itself. But I think this should be really clear on what is the test runner. So Karma is the test runner that kind of gives you a simulation to run your JavaScript methods on the browser itself, right? So that's what Karma really does. So this is Karma. You can stop this by going to Control C, and you can of course start it again by using Karma start. Remember, we use Karma init to generate this initial package for us. And this all code can be written in multiple libraries, but the one that I choose here is the Jasmine library. The suit can contain multiple test cases, but generally a suit pertains to one specific unit. It may be a component in Angular. It may be a service class, or maybe something like a uh, you know any artifact in Angular. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the terminal right here. Oops. And there's some complaint right here. Ng new my testing app cannot be done inside of a CLI project. Am I already in a CLI project? Oops. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to go here and create this ng new my testing app. This is where we'll test up our application. Now, this of course is going to take some time and generate the structure. But remember, we are here doing TypeScript testing, and I'll also make you see the let's just call it as Angular testing, just to see where you'll get all these hints from. So this is the guide, the official documentation. We're gonna do a lot of stuff here in to start at least, but in detail, if you have to look at it, right, you have to go here and look at this right here. Now, it just mentions the test framework at Jasmine here itself, and then you can notice Karma. It's just kind of doing a similar test that we also did. So Angular, the latest versions, of course, they also support Karma and Jasmine, and that's where we will be writing our test cases as well. So go back to the the project, and sorry, the terminal right here. It's just kind of in a process to generate this. What I would like to first make you see in this particular project is the structure, and it automatically would have some test cases right here. So it's just kind of really important to go through those structures. I'll just type in here my testing app, and we'll open this here. Now you notice the source contains an app, and apart from the TS file that is here, it just also contains a spec file over here. And the spec is nothing but the test case like we had written ourselves. Now what's happening here? Let's just kind of discuss this. So you would notice the described syntax is just similar. It has an if statement as well here. Apart from the if statements, which are of course your test cases that are going to run, it contains a before each. Now what is a before each? Before each is a method that's going to run before each test case is fired. Now the main thing that you can see in this particular test case is testbed. Now testbed comes from Angular core testing library. It's the main class that's going to give you the testing environment created for you. Remember, in your Angular applications, when you run them on the browsers, right? So browsers would do a lot of things like dependency injection, rendering of the component, compiling of the components. The libraries, the moment it sees something like a component which has a tag, it tries to compile it automatically, the library on the browsers. But here on the test case, you'll have to explicitly do it yourself. So you notice a similar declaration like you would have in a module, declarations app module. So it's kind of configuring a testing module for you right here and creating a testing environment where it is going to compile those components for you. So consider this is going to be fired before each test case, and so you'll always have app component readily available. This is nothing other than in the module things. I mean, so module really contains imports and providers and all that stuff. But remember, testing is going to be very specific to one particular component or one particular service, and in that sense, it's not really declaring many other things right here. Of course, you can do that using testbed, but unit testing is about just one component. That's all possible if I talk about components. Now, there are three test cases right here. The first one really uses the testbed now. So it is configured, the component is declared right here. The next thing that you have to really do in this particular case is create a component, and that's kind of creating the component instance right over here. The next line says fixture.debug element component instance. Once you get the component instance, so this is more likely how the browsers will see the component, and then you can just expect to be truthy, like they exist. So the first thing is about should create the app component. That's all. The next thing is that you shall have a title, which is title equals app. Now remember, the title here is title equals app over here as well. So this really means that we'll have the in this spec, it just means that it's equal to app, the app title. And the next thing is all about there is a third test case as well. So at this part, at this junction, we are still testing on the value in the component ts file. But when it just gets the rendered onto the screen, right, it's going to be rendered as an h1 component, isn't it? So you notice here in ts it is still lying as a title, but on the html it kind of renders as an h1 welcome to title. So on a browser, when you have to test this, right, you'll just use the query selector h1 and just text the text content to be welcome to my testing app, and that's what it should print initially. So there is of course extra steps required right here. For example, a fixtures.detect changes. Once we get down into more examples and do it ourselves, we'll be able to see all that. So this should set up a nice introduction to how testing is going to go ahead in Angular. I'm going to simply run this testing as of now, and the way you can run it is of course by using ng test. In fact, this entry is there in your package.json as well. So you can just see here it contains a test entry which is ng test, and if I just kind of run this from here, it's going to run those test cases. Basically, it runs the karma start command underneath somewhere, and in the setup you will also see karma.js right here, which contains every possible module that's kind of required, reporters, very much like the file that we created ourselves using the Chrome browser itself. So a lot of things that's already done for us courtesy the Angular CLI projects. And let's see. So I mean, as of now, it's kind of a sample, a new project itself. So it should be able to execute all of these, in as success. So let's see. I mean, it's just going to take a little while because I'm just running it for the first time, and building the first time takes a little longer. But now the karma has started up right here, and Well, it's not the case. So it's 0, 1, 2, 3 test cases right here. App component should render a title, and that has failed because it says welcome to app, not welcome to my testing app. Maybe I just need to fix up my test case itself, right? So I found a bug with the uh, the Angular CLI. So this should have said welcome to app. That's all. Never does my testing app. So just save it right here. And the moment you save it, of course, it's going to run those test cases again. And now you can see all of them are in green. In fact, you can just notice this, the test cases, they can just print it because there's a reporting tool available now. They run here as well, and you can just see the details if you really want from here also. Of course, the failure cases will also show. Maybe we'll just make one failure case. If suppose it's going to be just a missing, right? And you notice, so the third test has failed. Right here it's make you see two green dots and one this, and says welcome to app was expected, but it says just welcome to without a pp, right? So we can of course fix this right here, and the moment I do this, I'm going to get all these test cases in green. Now this green, this browser related view is available because we have used something like in the karmaconf file a progress, apart from the progress reporter, in KJ HTML reporter as well, which is kind of an HTML reporter for those test cases right here. So that's a little detail about on how we're going to run in Angular. I'll see you in the next section where we'll actually write some test cases for our own components and services.